In the year 2000, two men flew to Dallas, Texas, walked into the headquarters of the most powerful entertainment retailer on Earth, and offered to sell them their struggling startup. The price? $50 million. The executives in that room didn't negotiate. According to one of the founders, they could barely keep a straight face. That startup was Netflix. Today, it's worth over $340 billion, almost 7,000 times the price Blockbuster refused to pay. But here's what nobody tells you about this story. That meeting didn't kill Blockbuster. Blockbuster had 3 more chances to survive, and it burned every single one. This is case file number 1. To understand how shocking that laughter was, you need to understand what Blockbuster was in the year 2000. This wasn't just a video rental company. It was a Friday night ritual for an entire civilization. At its peak, Blockbuster operated more than 9,000 stores worldwide. A new store opened, on average, every 17 hours. 65 million registered members. The blue and yellow ticket logo was as recognizable as McDonald's golden arches. When David Cook opened the first store in Dallas in 1985, he brought something revolutionary: a computerized inventory system and a massive selection. 10,000 tapes, when the corner video store carried a few hundred. Within 2 years, a billionaire named Wayne Huizenga bought in and started swallowing every competitor in sight. By 1994, media giant Viacom paid $8.4 billion for the company. $8.4 billion. In 1994, money. But the empire had a dirty secret. A secret buried in its own accounting. Blockbuster's business model wasn't really renting movies. It was punishing you for keeping them. Late fees. In the year 2000, Blockbuster collected roughly $800 million in late fees, around 16% of its entire revenue. Think about what that means. One of every $6 this company earned came from a fee its customers hated. Their most profitable customers were their angriest customers. Inside the industry, executives knew. The business was structurally dependent on a bad experience. Remember this number, 16%, because it's the key to everything that follows. Meanwhile, in California, a software entrepreneur named Reed Hastings had a problem. The story he told for years: he returned a movie 6 weeks late and got hit with a $40 fee. Was the story polished for the press? His co-founder Marc Randolph says it was simplified, but the insight was real. What if a movie rental company made money when you were happy, not when you were late? In 1997, they founded Netflix, DVDs by mail. And in 1999, the killer move, a flat monthly subscription. Keep the movie as long as you want, no due dates, no late fees. Netflix didn't attack Blockbuster's stores, it attacked the 16%. Which brings us back to that room in Dallas. Year 2000. The dot-com bubble has just burst. Netflix is hemorrhaging money, on track to lose $50 million that year. Hastings and Randolph fly to Dallas to meet Blockbuster CEO John Antioco. Their pitch: buy us for $50 million. Netflix becomes Blockbuster's online division. Antioco was no fool. He was a respected operator who turned around 7-Eleven and Taco Bell. But sitting across from two guys from a money-losing .com right after the entire internet economy had imploded. Randolph later wrote that Antioco was struggling not to laugh. The meeting ended with a polite no. Now, was this really the fatal mistake everyone says it was? Honestly, no. Big companies pass on acquisitions all the time. Apple passed on buying Netflix too. The $50 million no wasn't the disease. It was the first symptom. The disease was the reason behind the no. Blockbuster could not imagine a world without late fees because late fees were paying for everything. And here's where the story gets genuinely strange, because Blockbuster's next move was actually brilliant. Blockbuster finally wakes up. Antioco launches Blockbuster Online, a direct Netflix clone. Then he does something that took real courage. In January 2005, Blockbuster announces the end of late fees. The company voluntarily amputated hundreds of millions of dollars of its own revenue, the 16%, to fight for its future. And in 2006 came the masterstroke: total access. Rent online, return in store. Swap your mail DVD at any Blockbuster and get a free rental on the spot. Netflix literally could not match this. Netflix had no stores. And it worked. By early 2007, Blockbuster Online was adding subscribers faster than Netflix. Inside Netflix, this was the moment of genuine fear. The hunter had become the hunted. Blockbuster was winning, which is exactly why what happened next is one of the most painful self-inflicted wounds in business history. Enter Carl Icahn. The corporate raider had bought a massive stake in Blockbuster back in 2005, won seats on the board, and had been at war with Antioco ever since. Icahn's view: total access was a money furnace. The online war was costing hundreds of millions, the stock was down, and in his eyes, the CEO was overpaid. In 2007, after a bitter fight over his bonus, John Antioco, the man whose strategy was finally beating Netflix, walked out the door. The board replaced him with Jim Keyes, a retail man, a stores man. And Keyes looked at Total Access, the program that was outgrowing Netflix, and saw only the cost. He slashed its funding, raised its prices, pulled the company's focus back to the stores, candy racks, popcorn, impulse buys at the counter. In 2008, Keyes said Netflix wasn't even, quote, on the radar screen as competition. The company that had Netflix beaten voluntarily left the battlefield. What followed was physics. 2008. The financial crisis hits a company already drowning in roughly $1 billion of debt. 2009. Netflix pivots to streaming while Blockbuster is still optimizing shelf space. Redbox kiosks start renting DVDs for $1 at every supermarket exit. Blockbuster is now losing on 3 fronts at once: mail, streaming, and price. The death spiral every failing retailer knows: falling revenue, close stores to cut costs, fewer stores means less revenue, close more stores. 2010. The stock that once traded near $30 is a penny stock. The New York Stock Exchange delists it, and on September 23, 2010, Blockbuster files for bankruptcy. 10 years after laughing Netflix out of the room, 3 years after beating Netflix at its own game, the epilogue is almost cruel. In 2011, Dish Network bought Blockbuster's remains at auction for around $320 million, less than 4% of what Viacom paid in the 90s. Dish kept the brand on life support for a while, then pulled the plug on the corporate stores in 2013. Today, exactly 1 Blockbuster store remains on planet Earth, a single franchise in Bend, Oregon, surviving as a tourist attraction and a nostalgia museum. People get married there. And Netflix? Over 300 million subscribers, a market value around $340 billion. The company Blockbuster wouldn't buy for $50 million now spends more than that on a single film. So, time for the verdict. Case file number 1. The verdict. Blockbuster was not killed by Netflix. It was not killed by the $50 million no. That was survivable. It was not even killed by technology. Blockbuster died because it defended its most profitable problem. 16% of its revenue came from punishing customers, so every decision that threatened the late fee looked like madness on a spreadsheet. The one fatal decision wasn't made in a single meeting. It was made every quarter for a decade. Protect the 16%. And when one CEO finally found the courage to amputate it, and it was working, the owners fired him for the cost of the surgery. The lesson, written in the file: if your best revenue comes from your customer's worst experience, you are not running a business. You are running a countdown. Look at the companies around you today. The subscription you can't cancel without a phone call, the airline baggage fee, the bank overdraft charge. Somewhere in those buildings, an executive is defending their own 16%. Case file. Number 1. Closed. Next week in the files, the toy store that made $11 billion the year it died, and the Wall Street deal that executed it. If you don't want to miss the autopsy, you know what to do.